Hello, I've prepared a overview of the strategy I'm trying to do for Blackboard, and the goal is to enhance your experience, to have the best experience, I guess, the easiest way to put it, for this course. And I thought it was important to go over some of those elements. I may not be apparent. Well, it's in your syllabus. I have listed the breakdown, and if you notice the exams, there's only two: the midterm and final is 25%. Now I've ratcheted that back in terms of the weight for adding the case studies, and that gives you a more flexibility and I think a better learning opportunity, in addition to the assignments that will be issued throughout the course. And all of those are to reinforce what we're trying to get across in each of the chapters. So the lab is 30% overall, and I have quizzes and worksheets and also completion. That's part of it, and then the lab practicals. And I'll go over more of the lab practicals later. For virtual lab practicals, I guess is a better way of putting it. And again, I'll prepare you and I'll give you a study guide for that. Enabled for me to enable the weighted grading that is always complicated on Blackboard. I use a program called Easy Grade Pro, and what this allows me to do is to specifically go in and give everything a weight, so the grades are very accurate. I have used this for over 6 years. It's actually written by the same company, or it's owned by the company that owned Blackboard, and they have not integrated it for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a license or something to do that, but it's not hard for me to jump from Easy Grade Pro to posting it on the Grade Center. Normally I used the Grade Center, and I had a bad experience when the dean sent around a note. I noticed that went on all the blackboards, and 30% of them wiped the grade book, and I was one of them, and I'm a little gun shy about that. So Easy Grade Pro is something I manage myself here on my systems, which are backed up daily, and so that way I know for a fact that I've got your grades, and I send out periodically a grade report. Now this one is a generic one, and don't worry about details. It breaks down the categories, the weighted aspect, and the grades for each of those sections, and then a breakdown of each of those particular ones that contribute to this, and you can see the categories and then the grades that you receive. Now what's nice about my grade reports is right there, that grade is your overall grade of lab and class. And see, Blackboard, it's really confusing to know what your overall grade is at any point in time, and I do that with a grade report. You can request a grade report. I'll be glad to send it to you as a PDF, and it'll look like this with your name. And my goal is by the end of the semester, you will have seen this enough to know that if there's any errors or anything, you've already pointed them out, and I've made the changes. And so you feel pretty confident, I'd say about 99.9% confident, that I got your grades right. And it's something, I take seriously, because you've worked hard to perform and to do what you need, and I have to take the extra effort to make sure that the grades are accurate. So I do the best I can, and this is how I do it. Students seem to like it very much, and I've added the echoing on Blackboard. I used to not even do that. In class I just hand out the grade reports, but because it's online, I accommodate that. So student support, in case you're not familiar with Blackboard. I know that other learning systems, I used to teach a while back as an adjunct at the University of Phoenix for a while, and at Campbell I taught full-time at Campbell, and at the vet school I taught second-year veterinary students. And everybody's got a different system for how to deliver content. Blackboard is just one. There's Moodle, there's all sorts of different types. And so if you're not familiar with Blackboard, I included some help. Blackboard Help it's part of Wake Text, and I've placed it in both the course resources and getting started areas. And if there's some technical, now this is what happens a lot, and students get frustrated, and I figured you probably have already been through it, but some of you maybe not. They make sure that you update your passwords every so often, so they expire, and then all of a sudden you can't log into Blackboard, and they panic thinking that somebody dropped them or whatever. No, it's probably you expired on the password and you need to update it. And there's a technique, it tells you how to do that for a student. I know for me, I have to go through a different rigmarole, but that's for faculty. It's a pain, but it's just one of those necessary evils that we have to follow as we go along. And as you know, I try to divide everything the semester into weeks. I find that the students like to take one bite at the apple at a time and a week, and instead of showing you all the weeks, we have 16 weeks, and blast it on Blackboard and I'll see you at the end of the course, it doesn't work like that. I take it week by week, and you do the best you can to complete the week. If it slops over into week 2, that's okay. I understand everyone's busy. This is a very unusual time and I'm flexible. And so take that pressure off your plate. That's not, I just want you to do the work and to assimilate the knowledge, because you're going to utilize this in your profession. And my intent is that when you walk out the door, you keep it with you. And at least you'll have your reference material. But I broke it down by week, and I denote what's being covered. Now, I will do 1 week in advance just for those who are overachievers, which I highly recommend. But you won't ever see that for me, because I'm dyslexic and I have to take time to read things. And for those, by the way, I find that 80% of my students are visual learners, and I try to compensate the materials and things that I do for visual learning. And for those who are not, I try to include enough textual information for those who love lists and charts and blah blah blah. So that's in there, and so I'm cognizant of that. So each week is broken down into sections. We got the reading assignment, so if you want to know what's being covered in a textbook in Collins' book. I did supply a free book as just additional reading if you want to look at a different perspective, or maybe they cover a little bit more. It's just there for you to keep. It's electronic, you can keep it, and I hope you keep your book. It's a pretty good one. Then there's the instructor modules, the assignments, quizzes, and lab assignments. Now, the instructor modules are my voiceovers and various things, and I'm going to go through each one of these headings so you know what they're for and the reasons why I do that. So here's reading assignments, just as an example, out of the book, and I even try to break it down by each of the reasons. Now, the reason I do this is not so much for the visual learners, but it can be if you print that out and checklist it. That way you can use color pencils to determine, yeah, I know this one, so I do color pencils. Color for dyslexic folks is very powerful, and it's a memory trick. So what I do is I use green for things that I know. I use red for things that I don't know, or a highlighter, or both, and then just a black to make comments or things. So this is just my technique for studying. I've been in school for a long time, as you know. I have a master's and a PhD, both in the microbiology field, and the vet school was my PhD, and on a medical track, a veterinary, and I decided to stay in research and not practice. So this is things that I learned along the way to do. So if you have trouble studying, I'd be glad to spend some time and chat with you. I've done everything. I didn't know I was dyslexic until my master's program. Lucky me. I just thought everyone had to bleed and take your pencil and poke your eyes out in order to get things done. No, I'm just joking, but it's painful for me, and so I've learned ways to get around it. So I play to my strengths. I don't dwell in weaknesses, and that's my recommendation for anyone who's struggles with a study technique. Always play to your strengths. So that's why I do the reading assignments the way I do them. I include the page numbers, but they're pretty obvious, and so there that is. The instructor modules is my replacement for the classroom, where I stand up and jawbone and blab and do all that. And so I did it in modules. Now, it's a mistake for me to do it in modules as far as copying one shell to another for every semester. Unfortunately, modules don't copy. So I have to reconstruct them every time, but I like the metaphor of it, and I like how it delivers the content, so I'm going to continue to do it that way. I've worked around some of the issues. It just isn't simple, but I need to be updating it every time. I'm not going to just copy and paste and run with it. But there you go. So it's a chapter. You can see the little notebook with the tabs and that sort of thing. And what that will reveal is a module page. And on that page, I can start adding content to various things. So I have a study guide, the microbes video that I do a voiceover, so you can see the various things. Now, depending on how I lay it out, sometimes I have just one module page, or I can break it down so the chapters are shown over in the table of contents area. Students haven't really, you can close that out so you don't even see it if you don't want to see that area. And students just like having it on one page. So to watch the videos, there's the button underneath, or you can hit it here. That's the link. I always post a link, and my slides. So one technique is you can open up my PowerPoint and print them so that you have a note area underneath. So you have the top picture of the slide and the notes below there, and you can follow along that way. A lot of students like doing that, and that gives you the classroom lecture type of experience if you like those sorts of things. And I break it up so it's not all of this blah blah blah. But the advantage is, which you cannot do in the classroom, is you can hit a button and turn me off. Now, you can annoy me during class or something, and that will pretty much shut me up. But for online, it's actually better as an experience. You get to see what I'm saying, and then you can stop it. Or you can put it on your cell phone or something, or a tablet. Go into if you have to use the bathroom for 6 hours, you can watch the video there. And it's just a little bit more flexible. And I spend a fair amount of time honing these, but anyhow, that is what I intend to do. Everything's going to be consistent. I'm going to do it this way unless there's a major issue with something. The assignment area I post, and you can see like with chapter 1, I have chapter 1 student question, a checklist, and the case study. And the case study is composed of a PDF document that tells you the overall case. It includes everything, and the questions and various things. And so that's sort of your worksheet. And then I break out of that a document, a Word document, that you can now put your answers. So you can actually open up your word processor, bring that in, answer it, and then you can just upload it through Blackboard, and you're done. In that way, you don't have to take pictures of it handwritten and all that. In the event that you print it out and then you fill it out with handwriting, then you can take a picture and send it to me by email. But I'd really rather you not, because it just makes it easier. I have almost 100 students this semester, and I do a lot of reading, and you know that's not my big strong point. So as a note on that, I usually do my grading on Fridays because I'm doing a lot of content development during the week. I'm also taking Epic 30 course, which takes a lot of my time to certify me. I have to be certified by the end of this semester, or they drop me on my head, I guess. But anyhow, I have to do that, and it's a lot of fun. Anyone that would love to take Epic 30, which is 60 hours or 30 hours, I guess it is, of fun about using Blackboard or administering it for a class, hey, go for it. It's there. I'd rather have my fingernails peeled back, but hey, whatever your preferences are. So that's the relationship, the case study, and then you'll see the worksheet, and that's what you submit. It is a duplicate of that section or the questions within that overall case study, but the case study is in PDF, and I broke it out as a document, a Word document, or you can convert it to a Google Doc, whatever you want to do for that, and submit that via Blackboard. And so it's a standard procedure. If you've done this for other courses, I submitted the questions, this document, as an assignment, so it automatically sets up a entry in your grade book, which is the Blackboard grade book. And so I import those into my Easy Grade Pro once I've graded them, and then I blast it back to Blackboard so you can see your grade and all that stuff. So that's what I do, and that's the best way to work with that, and I just thought I'd share that with you. Chapter quizzes. Now, what's going to be going on for the questions is I'm going to be using a program that I've been doing since COVID, and it's a Checkmark type of company that provides online testing, and they do a very good job. Now, I have to pay for it, and that's how much I put my money where my mouth is. You can have your internet go down, and you can pick up where you left off, and that sort of thing. And it's really nice. It allows all sorts of flexibility. And for the practice exams, it'll be using your standard browsers and stuff. But for the midterm and final, I use a lockdown type of browser that's new this semester. So I'll have the fun of trying to debug that. Nobody else is doing this program that I use because it costs money. And so what I'm going to at least attempt to do is that way it leaves no doubt as to how the exam's taken. It does require a video cam on your side for the exam, and so it helps. It's just a good way to do standard exams everywhere you're going to go. Proctoring is a big deal, and I don't want you to slide under the or slide through a crack or something. These things I have to know what you know and able to do. That's my job, and I got to do it the best way I know how to do it. So there you go. Lab assignments and Connect. First of all, one of the reasons I designed it the way I did, and the way the department wants it done, of course, you buy the book. You can, there's, in my class, it could be the electronic book or a paper book. It doesn't matter to me. So you can save some money getting the ebook. And I set the any of the Connect work, if you notice, from the start to December. The reason I do that is this is for you, the grading. I give you extra credit for doing it with Connect. I don't utilize the grades from Connect. What I do is I give you credit for doing Connect as extra credit, and I've done that for years that way. Students seem to like it. It's a win-win. The more you do, the better things are for exams and the like. It's systematic. It does a really good job. All the modules are on. I leave them on so when it comes to midterm or something, they'll still be active. You can go back and review again. You can go through and read and take the little quizzes and things, and students really like the flexibility for that. And I win because I get the better grades from my students. You win because you get better grades and you retain it better. It just works, and I'm working on enhancing that some. The lab assignments, and I posted lab assignments in the weekly folder. Now, I used to have it separate and it got confusing. The students had to go to another place for the labs, and I decided, no, I'm just going to integrate it into the weekly folder. So this is what's assigned during this week. So there's the lab assignments for this week, and you can see that now. If you didn't finish last week's, you have week 1 folder. You can go back and do whatever you need to do to get that done. And so in this week 2 is a good example, is a review of the microscope. And so the lab assignments will utilize the same kind of module approach as I do for the class. And so when you click on this, that takes you to the module page. Now I do a supplemental directory here. There are sites specifically broken out if you are having trouble with the links. And I've never had students with troubles with the modules, but in the event that you do and it's at night or whatever, I just added the additional there just to help if there is an issue. And so the review of the microscope assignment, you just follow it on down. There's be a long single page of everything on there. So I give you the links for the things you need to do for experiencing the microscope, and I have a virtual microscope so you can actually use the virtual scope. I've got my voiceover using a microscope, and you can actually see the screen of what I'm doing on that microscope, and students seem to like that. And so that's the breakdown how I arrange Blackboard. We can use the office hours and things like that in case you need to contact me, or just send me an email and I'll go from there. I do have internet issues from time to time, and it's just I kind of have to wait them out until I have a lot of utilization of the internet at my house. My wife teaches, and she has these huge conferences on them, and the bandwidth becomes almost zero. So from time to time that happens. So I hope this was helpful, and have a great semester. And again, just let me know if you need to chat.